Welcome to Corrective Consciousness episode 221, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is
Lotus Prince.
And for this episode, I'd like to give Lotus Prince the opportunity to review every single trauma film in chronological order.
Well, I've seen two of them, so I can talk to you about those. I've seen...
Not even like the most famous ones. You didn't even see Toxic Avenger, did you?
No, that's one of them.
Oh,
I saw
okay,
Toxic
good.
Avenger,
Okay.
Avenger,
Yeah.
and the other was Beware Children at Play, which ends with slaughtering children, except they're the bad guys, so you actually want it to happen. But it's weird that they just filmed this.
Well, there's actually quite a few like famous ones. I mean, there's Cannibal the Musical, which was done by Trey Parker, Matt Stone.
There's Guardians of the Galaxy, which features... what's... Oh, damn it. What's the... I know the guys...
James
Who's
Gunn.
the trauma guy?
Lloyd Kaufman.
Thank you. I was like, Andy Kaufman? That's not right. Yeah, Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman was clearly in Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw him.
The AVGN episode with him on it.
That's true. That's part of the Trauma cinematic universe.
Sergeant Kabuki Man. No, I mean that would be ridiculous. Plus, there's a lot of shit in that catalog. As good as like some of that schlock is for schlock's sake, there's also a lot of garbage in there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't do that.
Remember that time the Toxic Avengers scary gonna kill you theme was just straight up on that unballed mountain?
Remember that time when they turned an almost pornographic like monster movie into a kid's cartoon show in the 90s?
But that was just the thing to do. Like there's so much kids like alien
like
toys. Rambo was a cartoon. RoboCop was a cartoon.
It wasn't kid friendly either.
Yeah, Beetlejuice was a cartoon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
There's Terminator toys.
RoboCop. RoboCop's another one.
Yeah, I mentioned RoboCop. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was odd.
let's take this ultra-violent satire of corporate America
Swamp
and make
Thing.
it a kid show where he's a product of corporate America.
Yeah, Swamp Thing as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very adult
It's
comic.
a comic book character. Comic books are for kids. Make a kid show.
Not that one.
Sure they are. They're comic books. Don't you know
I mean,
anything?
it's basically the start of the Vertigo, line.
I mean, like, to
basically.
this day, there's still the belief that, like cartoons are for kids, even though anime's become a lot bigger than it used to be in America.
Not in our age group knows better.
Well, yeah, because we grew up with this stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and plenty of us still watch all kinds of cartoons, even the kid intended ones. But
I am
anyway,
caught up with One Piece.
Anyway, we are actually continuing our discussion on PlayStation 1 classics. Last week we went over some of the biggest ones from the biggest publishers that are really, really notable. So we went over Konami,
Square,
Namco, Square, and Capcom, right?
That's right.
So this is going to be our more underground kind of one, and some really kind of fun, notable ones. But probably the biggest company that we're going to mention, I want you to go through these since you're the expert.
Yeah. So we have From Software, of course. Now the company has become more mainstream lately with the Souls series and Bloodborne. Yeah, back then you probably never heard of them, and if you did, you didn't like them.
It was a hit.
Armored Core is as good as it was going to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, From Software, their PS1 launch title was the original Kingsfield, which America still never got. We never got that. There are 4 Kingsfield games, and America got 2, 3, and 4, and called them 1, 2, and The Ancient City.
Yeah.
So the original Kingsfield was a Japanese PS1 launch title, and if you've ever seen, I mean, this is an odd reference to make, but if you know anything about Eternal Ring, which was a launch PS2 title, picture that but with PS1 graphics, and that's basically Kingsfield. You cannot look up and down with the sticks because it's a launch title. The PS1 controller didn't even have sticks. You look up and down with... I'm flaking on this one. They're like... You use the L and R buttons.
L and R buttons, yeah.
I think you could set control settings, but like 2 of those buttons are used for strafing and 2 of them are used for looking up and looking down. It takes a little bit to get used to. You can get used to it though, but if you've been playing with a camera stick your whole life, it's going to feel really bizarre, especially on the PS2 where you have a stick and you just don't use it. You just press, depending on the game you're playing, like square, I think, to attack, if memory serves. Triangle, I think, cast magic. Circle, ooh, I forgot if it was circle or start, or maybe even both. That was the menu, and X interacted with stuff. Although with the Japanese version, X and circle might have been switched. Like, whatever, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's a pretty old school style RPG. It's a first-person dungeon crawler, especially the first game, where you're just in a dungeon, like you're playing Grimrock or something.
Yeah, what I liked about it is that they tried something new that only the PlayStation could do at the time. Really, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I guess you could say the Saturn could do it too, but what I mean is like what they tried to do on this system was something you couldn't do with the Super Nintendo and the
Yeah,
Genesis.
no way.
Yeah.
I mean, the Super Nintendo allowed for a little bit of first-person play, like Doom and stuff, but this is more than that. You talk to people, you open doors and chests and things of that sort. You customize your equipment, which does not have weight yet. In the Souls games, your equipment has weight, but we're not there yet. But, well, your equipment, I think, kind of had weight, but what it would affect was when you swung your weapon, they had a stamina gauge even as early back as their first ever game, but it wasn't like you can't run anymore or anything like that. It was really more you do more damage when your stamina gauge is full, so you don't want to just mash the attack button because you'll do one strong attack and then a bunch of really weak ones, so you want to let the bar fill and then swing it again. And I think if you had heavy equipment it would fill a little more slowly, I think. And there were different spells you could find and later cast which depleted your magic, and it's just a straight up dungeon crawler. And the culmination of the game was you could, it's been a long time, I forgot if it was optional or not. I want to say it was optional, but you could find the Sword of Moonlight, or the Moonlight Sword, or whatever they called it. Mm-hmm. And that was like the super weapon in the game. Kingsfield has a thing for a Sword of Moonlight or a Moonlight Sword. They have that weapon in a lot of their games, and it actually plays a plot role in Kingsfield 2, which America knows as the first Kingsfield. And that game was interesting in that it was more open world. You start off outside. Imagine that. And it's almost like the Souls games in that you can go wherever, but if you go to an area that's over-leveled, then you're just going to get your ass kicked.
Well, that was actually an old RPG trope as well. I mean, like, if you, in Dragon Quest, if you went into the wrong area of the map, you clearly knew you were not supposed to go there.
Right, like you could theoretically do it, but with Dragon Quest, it's probably like impossible because you're doing die rolls. In Kingsfield, you could swing at the enemies forever, but like, dude, come on, what are you doing? What's also an interesting FromSoft trope is that they often have the first available chest in the game, not the first obviously available one, but like in a side room or something, or a secret room, they'll have a chest with like a leather shield. So early game, it's like, okay, but by the time you're ready to get it, it's not really worth it. And it's guarded by like a single skeleton, and that skeleton will like 2 or 3 shot you. Like that thing will kick your ass. And this carried over even into Demon Souls and Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, if you go to the graveyard when you just start the game, you will get destroyed.
That is when I stopped playing it originally because I was just like, "Fuck this!"
Yeah,
like,
you just went the wrong way. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, I didn't. They don't stop coming after you. Like, you just have to.
Yeah, they will chase you back to the fucking bonfire. Yeah, those things are relentless.
Yeah.
And even in Demon Souls, once you beat the first level, which you must beat to unlock everything else, it's like, here are worlds 1 through 5. If you go into world 4, skeletons just Sonic the Hedgehog roll at you and just obliterate you immediately. And you're like, there's no way I'll ever be able to fight these things. But that's actually the beauty of Kingsfield right there, is that you slowly but surely level up and get better equipment, and you can go back to early areas and be like, oh, actually, I can fight these guys. And it's not just stats and die rolls, like with turn-based RPGs. Like, you're swinging your sword in real time. You feel more powerful that way, and you can circle strafe around enemies, which not only is recommended, but the fucking instruction manual straight up recommends this for one of the Kingsfield games, which I thought was a little surprising. Those manuals are full of lore, by the way. Like, genuinely worth a read. You don't really need to know the plot to get through Kingsfield. You're like, I'm Guy who needs to beat bad guy. But, like, yeah, you get more out of it if you read the manual, which is pretty cool. But, like, just as they've been doing with the Dark Souls games on the PS3 and 4, they did with the Kingsfield games, where they took a basic idea and tried to keep improving on it little by little. Like, you go from dungeon crawling, or in Demon Souls' case, level teleporting, to Kingsfield 2, or Dark Souls 1, where it becomes open world. And in Kingsfield 3, it's more open world. And characters in the PS1 games just don't have faces. They literally don't have faces. Just here's a textureless character for you to talk to with text. But, like, when you got to a later game, Shadow Tower, which is not Kingsfield, but plays somewhat similarly, all of a sudden we got faces, we got voice acting, we have actual voice acting now, and in Shadow Tower, the whole game is a dungeon again. You're climbing not up, but down a tower, which gets progressively more difficult. What I find interesting about Shadow Tower is that almost every floor in the game has new and different enemies.
That's cool.
The enemy list is huge. It's like bigger than any of the Souls games by a lot. There's legitimate diversity, and I don't just mean palette swapping. They have like a couple palette swaps, but for the most part, it's new and unique stuff. And they even have things that later games would allude to, like Kingsfield 2, I think, has an area where you could fire your bow and arrow at long, faraway switches to open doors, and Dark Souls 2's DLC had stuff kind of like that. Or, like, in Shadow Tower, the Mushroom Men who beat the crap out of you. They're Dark Souls enemies. Dark Souls 1. One of, like, the Earth Dungeon boss in Shadow Tower is basically Artorias from Dark Souls 1's DLC.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that. And again, you can find the Moonlight Sword, although you actually cannot in Shadow Tower. That was quite a surprise, but you can in Kingsfield 1, 2, and 3. Then they had the Armored Core games. I have not played these, but they're like...
I know these a little bit better than you, I would say.
I heard you could actually get the Moonlight Sword in some of those, too.
Yeah, and that's actually where the hyena's from. What's his name?
Oh, Patches?
Patches is actually from the Armored Core series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He's a rival Armored Core, I think.
That's great, because Patches is a staple trickster merchant in Demon Souls and all the Dark Souls games. Well, Dark Souls 1 and 3, all the Miyazaki Dark Souls games, and even Bloodborne.
Oh, he's in Bloodborne? I didn't realize that.
He's not exactly a merchant, but yeah, Patches the Spider is a character that exists.
But Armored Core was cool in that it was a third-person action mech game that had a lot of customizability to it, like way more than what people were used to at the time. So much so that there were people that just basically played the game for the customization.
Yeah, it's like Bloodborne. They call it Fashion Souls.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people would just play this just to get more and more stuff and add all kinds of things to your.
Yeah, it's cool.
And also, like you could. This was like the first game that I remember where you could actually customize the coloring. Like you could blend colors and like they would give you a full RGB color space.
Yeah, like you still can't do that in the newer games. You can, not a spectrum, but you could select from a list of colors in Evergrace of all games in the world.
You were mixing your own colors in this game.
It was like in the Souls games, you could do like your eye color and your skin color, but like you can't tweak the clothing you pick up, which is like the entire game.
No, this game was really hardcore, and I always liked the concept of it. It always looked cool, but I never got. Here's the thing, like I never really understood the concept of load back then. But load is a big deal in almost all of the From Software games, especially currently. Bloodborne.
I would say especially Demon Souls.
Yeah, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, and Dark Souls.
Bloodborne completely fucks off with that concept. They're just like, just have fun playing the game. But Dark Souls is rough, and Demon Souls is rougher.
Yeah, Demon Souls, I had a major problem because I was like, I'm gonna get the best armor, but my character wasn't strong enough to wear it. Like,
And,
it
and
was
not
just
not only that, but in
yeah,
Demon Souls, your inventory, like the stuff you did not have equipped, had weight.
yeah.
Like in Dark Souls, only what you wore had weight. But in Demon Souls,
Still,
your fucking consumable healing items had weight.
yeah,
So it
that's
was
true.
it, like if you found a rare weapon, it was like scary to pick it up. Can I still walk if I take this thing?
Yeah, exactly. So, I the way I used to play this game is that like I would load my character all the way up as much as I could, as many guns as I could, and that's the wrong way to play it.
Yeah.
In fact, having a nimble character with a pretty good gun and that's it is actually more favorable because your character will be a lot less clunky.
Well, that's like
Um,
the Dark Souls god tier play is like no armor, a dagger,
yeah,
and just dodge roll for days.
yeah. So like, I would like to go back and play this series. Like with the knowledge that I have now, I played
Yeah.
Armored Core 2 the most because that was a PS2 launch game.
Yeah.
But Armored Core 1, I do have a special place in my heart for because um, when I bought my PlayStation, it came with a demo disc that had Armored Core on it. And
Okay.
I would play every game on that forever because I couldn't afford a lot when I was a kid. So like I would just play like my every single thing on the demo disc, no matter what it was. I would explore it like to its fullest. And our Armored Core was one of those titles, and it also had a two-player mode that you could play through that, which was actually really pretty fun.
Yeah,
So
FromSoft sometimes does two-player stuff. With Armored Core, it makes sense, but it always feels a little weird whenever they do that.
yeah, yeah. But
And
not only
speaking of which, oh no, go ahead, go ahead. 'Cause
I
was
was
going to
I
change
was gonna say
subjects.
not only did they release Armored Core, but they also released two like sequels on the PlayStation One
Yes,
as well. So there was Armored
and
Core
none of
Project.
them is Armored Core 2.
No, no, no. So like e- each one that they release is kind of like a generation thing. So like Armored Core has its own Armored Core has its own sequels. Armored Core 2 has its own sequels. Armored Core
Yeah,
3 has
yeah.
its own sequels. Armored Core 5 and 4 and 5 both have their own sequels as well. Like their own individual like sequels to its own story. So um yeah, there were three games on the PlayStation 1.
There's like Arena
Project
Battle and like yeah, you were going to say Project Phantasma.
Yeah, Project Phantasma is the second one, and Master of Arena is the third one. So,
That's what it was. Okay.
what was cool about these is they also had save file carryover, which was pretty cool,
Oh, that is
especially in a
pretty
game
cool.
where you're customizing your
Yes.
character. That's
Yes.
like a huge deal.
And actually, speaking of this isn't quite carryover, but this ties into multiplayer and weight. Shadow Tower came out after Armored Core 1, and it does introduce the concept of weight as actual weight, so be careful with what you equip.
Mm.
But not only that, but if somehow the stars and planets align and you find somebody else with a fucking Shadow Tower save file, and you put it into the PS1, you can actually pit monsters that you have encountered like against each other, and you can bet on who wins, and you do it for ante because it
So
is
it's basically like beetle fighting that they do in Japan.
kind of sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And like because it is straight up impossible to get every weapon in the game in Shadow Tower. Like there, especially there's one part where you have one key and there are two weapons. Like choose one. So like that could be how you do it. Bet from your partner or whatever if you really want to go all the way with that. But it's just an amusing concept. They also had some, I think, unique unlockable things in like Lost Kingdoms on the GameCube if you do multiplayer.
Wow.
Find the other guy with Lost Kingdoms. But whatever. But so yeah, there's Armored Core, the Shadow Tower, and then kind of this is a little more of their offbeat series of the PS1, but there's also Echo Knight,
Yeah.
which controls like King's Field, not by default, but you can set the
It's more of
controls
an adventure game, though, right?
kind of, yeah. Like you're on a yeah. It's kind of
It's a
like
boat?
almost like it's not point and click, but it feels like a point and click because it's all puzzle solving.
Sure.
Yeah, you're on a boat. Everyone on the boat is dead. You can encounter shadows, like the ghosts, And-
Ghosts.
ghosts, and you talk to them, and they have problems that they want solved. And if you could solve the problem for them, they disappear and become some kind of orb, and you can collect it. And you can get the good ending if you get every orb. But beware, because there are a couple of ghosts in the game that actually do want to kill you, so you can prevent that from happening by simply turning on the lights. The ghosts do not handle lights very well, so a lot of the challenge early game is finding a light switch, or if there's a room that doesn't turn the light on, finding out how to quickly deal with it and get out. That can be, it's never scary. Even though the game's entirely about ghosts, it's never scary, but it can get you a little panicked. And that's just your thing, is you're on this boat in the past, you've been on some sort of warp in time, I guess, in the past, and these ghosts have issues, and like, oh no, my fish died, and I never got, well, that's Echo Knight 2, I want to say, but whatever. Like, oh no, my fish died, I never got to feed him, so you, like, go to the present, oh no, you go to the past when he was alive, grab some fish food, come back to the present when he's a ghost, give him the fish food, and it's like, oh, thanks, now I can feed my fish, and then he disappears. It's little things like that. So it's a lot of, like, feel-good getting rid of ghosts. You're not exercising them, you're, like, satisfying them because they're tied to this world by some sort of regret or obligation that they failed to meet. So in Armored Core, in Echo Knight 1, you're on the boat the whole time. In Echo Knight 2, you're in a mansion. But in Echo Knight 2 specifically, you can, like, touch things and be sent back to the past, where the context that they have now in the present makes more sense. And Echo Knight 2 was Japan only, but it has a fan translation, so I was able to play through it. And that's another thing, where you can get the good ending if you get all of the ghosts in the game. And I'm not going to go into this, partly because it's PS2 and partly because I haven't played it yet, but there's actually a third Echo Knight game, Echo Knight Beyond, which strangely is in space. I'm very curious to see how that goes. But this has been my FromSoft minute here, but there's, of course, this is not the FromSoft episode, as much as I would like it to be. Sure. I love FromSoft, and I'll make every episode a FromSoft episode. But we're talking about awesome PS1 games, and now we could finally divorce ourselves from companies overall. Let's just talk about Square games. Now we can just pick out individual things we find interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would be remiss to say that the Tony Hawk franchise wasn't one of the biggest things ever.
It's so big that they brought back Tony Hawk 1 and 2 very recently.
Yeah, I mean, they really popularized the skateboard, and really the extreme sports genre really wouldn't be what it became without Tony Hawk in general. The X Games kind of stuff, snowboarding, all the, even like motocross games kind of owe something to Tony Hawk. We talked about a lot about this on Recon recently, so I'm not going to tread the same territory, but you got to think, like, skateboarding titles before this, there weren't very many. There was 720 Degrees and Skate or Die for the NES, but they were a fixture in a game or an ornament. They were never really the fixture, the main fixture of the game. And Tony Hawk really popularized that and kind of added, like, it also became its own thing. You had this, like, sandboxy kind of thing that you could do, and then just do as many tricks as you can before you landed. The floor is hot lava kind of.
And not only that, but if Tony Hawk were released on the NES or the SNES or something, those little tournament levels where it's like get the highest score within 2 or 3 minutes or whatever?
Yeah.
That would have been the whole game.
Yeah.
But now on the PS1 and the N64 on its blue cartridge, Tony Hawk 1 and 2, they had levels like that, but you also were going around realistic environments like a school or this city, and you had goals like grind off of 5 police cars, or like break 5 things, or like wall ride 5 school bells in the school. So like it gave the levels more personality in that regard. Like, not only are you a skateboarder, a bit of exploration. Not only are you just some skateboarder, you're also like, you're a punk, you're a rebel, man. You're doing what you want, and you're getting away with it too. So like, it wasn't a story that wouldn't come about until, I think, Tony Hawk Underground. But
Yeah,
even so,
underground.
you felt like you had more personality. It's not just enter tournament, win medal. Like that was a small portion of the game, but that's not the part that people keep coming back to.
Yeah, and also, you can't downplay the soundtrack as well. That
The
was a
soundtrack is
huge deal.
unbelievable,
Huge
and
deal at
they
the time.
restored almost all of it for the
Yeah, just
remasters.
3 songs, and but all the ones that you really associate with the game
Superman,
are
there's
there.
no avoiding that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the warehouse level, so of course, but like that song's in everybody's head forever. It's like level one of Crazy Taxi, The Offspring. Like that's just
yeah.
that's it. That's your song forever.
I also have to mention along with this because it was kind of built on the same engine, but the Spider-Man games were actually really, really good for their
They
time.
weren't bad. I only ever played the first one because I didn't have a PS1 back in the day. I had an N64.
Yeah.
So I played Spider Man, the first one, with its red cartridge. That game was all right.
Yeah, um, that was really the first time Spider-Man had a really really genuinely good game. Like
Yeah, like
bef-
Maximum Carnage was pretty
yeah, but it
good, but
was
it was
beat
it
'em
was a
up.
straight.
It could have been any character.
Yeah, that was yeah. You beat me to it. Like there was very little web slinging, and it didn't really count. Like Spider Man on 64 and PS1, you were web slinging across the city. Like it's not sophisticated by today's standards, but it was pretty cool for the time.
I mean, at the time before, like most of the Spider-Man games that everybody remember were LJN titles. Like they were all bad.
Including Maximum Carnage, which was good.
Well, that was an Activision game, I think. Um,
No. Like the video game nerd, like James Rolfe, made a big deal of it when
oh, okay.
maybe it was published by LJN or something. But like that, it was like I think there was like a Christmas episode or something where he looked at the logo and he's like, oh, like they finally made a good game, and that's how his video ended.
Yeah, I mean, you had its sequels, Separation Anxiety, which is actually just harder.
That game is stupid hard.
Yeah, yeah.
I beat that game with more save states than I knew what to do with, and when I finally beat it, I unlocked hard mode. I was like, "Oh fuck this!"
Yeah, but Spider-Man, at least the first one, I played a lot of the first one
Yeah,
on
same.
I got every hidden comic book
I
cover
forgot
and
about
all, and
those. I forgot about
all,
those.
all the different like hidden suits in the game too,
You,
that
you know
help
what was
different
you know what was kick
abilities.
ass? Do you remember the final boss?
The final boss was Carnage Octopus, right?
That's one of the scariest things ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause like I forgot if you
Not
fight
as
Doc Ock,
scary
you
as
probably do. Well,
Carnage
Carnage Silver
Surfer.
Surfer, I know,
Yeah.
but I forgot if you fight Octopus, you probably do. But then you fight Carnage, which is already terrifying, and then the symbiote goes onto Octopus, and you don't even fight him. That
You have
last
to run away
quote
from him.
fight
Yeah.
is a Crash Bandicoot level where you're running toward the camera away from Carnage Octopus is just breaking everything behind you, and if he touches you, you die. It's just like it's basically just an escape sequence, but it's like oh my god, like you are not ready for that combination when you first see it.
This game was also really cool because like you could do a lot of different things with the webbing. Like you could make a shield. You could like you could do like spike gauntlets that you were made out of web. Like you could do a whole bunch of different things. You could shoot like a big web ball.
Yeah, like again, pretty next level for the time.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it compared to Spider-Man PS4, then it's like,
Oh
what are you
well,
doing? But it
no
was pretty
comparison.
rad when they came out.
No comparison. But like you know, baby steps. I mean, like the next really good Spider-Man game after that one would probably be Spider-Man 2, and then it like
Well, no, well even before that, like you said, baby steps. Spider-Man 1 on the GameCube, where you don't web off of anything.
yeah,
You web the sky.
this guy.
You
Well,
just
no,
generically can web.
this first PlayStation 1 also had that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what do you want?
Yeah,
But like on the
exactly.
GameCube, you're still doing that. And I believe the Green Goblin was still the bad guy, still voiced by Willem Dafoe, and Spider-Man's still voiced by Tobey Maguire. And it's not even the movie, the game. It's like it kind of is,
Hmm.
not really. But
Sure.
then Spider-Man 2 came out, and yeah, that was the definitive Spider-Man game until Spider-Man PS4 came out.
There were some
And
good ones
even
though in between.
there were, but
Yeah,
like I
there
was
were
just gonna
decent.
mention though, like Spider-Man 2 was so damn good that even when Spider-Man PS4 came out, people said, "Oh, it's like if Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube were updated to modern
Yeah,
standards."
yeah. Well, I mean, you could hardly argue that the newest one is the best Spider-Man game ever made.
Yeah, I mean,
But
where do you go from there? Yeah.
yeah, but like it it wouldn't be where it is without this PlayStation 1 game.
Yeah.
Because all of the games that subsequent were built off of it. So Let's see here. There was the Tenchu 1 and 2. Those were like the stealth genre, had such a big opening here. You
Well,
had the
Metal Gear Solid helped pave the way, I'm sure.
Metal Gear Solid, but you also had Tenchu here, which was like the feudal Japan version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
With
I
some
never
of the
really
most
played
hilarious
them,
voice acting I've ever heard.
but they have their fans. I never really played these because like I think I tried playing it once and I just got murdered.
Yeah, I never played any of them, actually. And I know that, speaking of FromSoft, I think they published a few starting in the PS2 era, but the games were made by Acquire, I believe. I think it's Acquire.
Yeah. Moving on from that, one of the very first games that I played from the PlayStation 1 and one of its earliest platformers, I think even before Crash Bandicoot 1, was Jumping Flash. I really, really love Jumping Flash 1 and 2. I never got a chance to play the third one because it was Japan only. It's called Robert Mount Mundu, I think. But Jumping Flash was amazing. It was the first-person game that I had ever played that had good platforming.
Yeah, because when you jump, the camera makes you look down so you could see exactly where you're landing, which a lot of games could benefit from.
Actually,
because even when you have full mouse control and first-person jumping, you're probably looking down when you're jumping anyway.
Well, this would that control mechanic is what would make Metroid Prime so good. Is Metroid Prime did this took the concepts from Jumping Flash, and I don't think they publicly said it, but it has to be because that's where I've seen it. You would look down once you made your apex. So you knew where you were landing, and these games are really, really good. They give you like a 3D playground to play around in, and go find the key items within that and explore. And some of it was just fun and joy. Like the music was just so much fun.
Yeah, music's pretty great.
And Jumping Flash 2 is the same thing as the first one, but like even more complex. Like just like bigger environments, a lot of fun. I actually really recommend going back to them because like they feel of the time, but still a lot of fun. Then you also like of the time and also representative of the PlayStation 1 when it first came out was the Twisted Metal games. Twisted Metal.
That's a genre that basically doesn't exist anymore.
Died. Yeah. Probably the last one was the PS3 Twisted Metal was like the last car combat game that
which got some lukewarm reviews, which the people who actually played the game, I think, said that like no, it's actually pretty good. I wish they kept going.
Yeah, and the entry that they made for PS2 was excellent as well. Twisted Metal Black. So Twisted Metal comes out and it basically like the PlayStation needed like new franchises and stuff to sell, and the original Twisted Metal was one of those games that was iconic because like it had like Sweet Tooth and like all the character designs were really neat looking.
Yeah, so everything was twisted. Well, I mean, no pun intended. For real.
Yeah. And it was one of those games that sold the whole aesthetic of the system and things like that. So it was the first game that I knew of that was a PlayStation game because this came out all the way back in 1995. I didn't know barely anything about the system because it was like so brand new, and all I read was Nintendo Power, so I didn't get very good information. But like Twisted Metal was something that I did recognize from TV commercials and things like that, and
Sweet Tooth looks very different in 1 as compared to anything else. He's just kind of like goofy, weird clown in 1, and then he gets his like flame hair look from I think the next game onward.
Black is where the flame hair comes.
Oh, it's black. Okay.
Yeah, but 2 was the same thing, but even better. Just bigger environments, more characters. It also has this great like story where like Calypso gives you that monkey's paw wish at the end of everyone. So like you really want to see what happens to every character at the end of every game.
Yeah, I think there's only been one time like ever, at least that I can think of, where a character just got his wish and that was it.
Yeah, I think it's Sweet Tooth in the first one.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't know about that. I was gonna say the guy who all he wants to do is die, like the immortal guy. I
Yeah.
forgot his name, and he does, and that's it.
Sweet Tooth wanted his best friend, and his best friend was a paper bag with a face like drawn
Okay,
on it, and then
because
Calypso's
I
like, "You want
actually
this?"
one of my favorite endings is this must have been in the PS2 era, but Sweet Tooth's flame look, like that's not a like a piece of flare, like his head is just straight up on fire,
Yeah.
and he's constantly in pain, and so Sweet Tooth's wish in I guess it was black was he wants the fire to go away, so Calypso, if you get his wish, Calypso's like, well, I made you this potion that will stop the fire, but it's connected to your killing. You're gonna like have to stop killing, or else the fire will come back. And Sweet Tooth's like, okay, and he kills Calypso and just throws the potion away. It's like, goddamn.
Brutal. But yeah, the first two games were made by the original studio. They were called Single Track, and they're the ones to play. But there were three other Twisted Metal games on the PlayStation 1. Two of them were made by 989 Studios. Twisted Metal 3 and Twisted Metal 4 are considered like the black sheep of the series.
Well, there's also that like, oh, never mind. I was thinking maybe a PSP one. There's like a tiny one or whatever.
That comes later. So that was Head On, but there was also Small Brawl, which is probably what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Small Brawl is not a PSP game, but it is a kiddie friendly version of it on PlayStation 1 that was made by Incognito, before they got famous. So they ended up moving on and making Twisted Metal Black later on. But yeah, Small Brawl was like a one where you like control RC cars, that kind of thing. So
I love
like
that they made a
cute-ish
kid-friendly version of a game where like the name Twisted Metal, like how does metal get twisted? Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like, can my kid play this game? The name, like Grand Theft Auto, the name of the game is a crime. Like, take a guess.
But also single track. So avoid those 989 ones. Just play Twisted Metal 1 and 2 for PlayStation. But along them with them came the Jet Moto games, which were also made by the same company, and these were pretty emblematic of the system at the time as well. So they were a pretty decent racing game with a trick system in it, and you raced hover bikes in the game. So it kind of had a futuristic bent, and it also had a good soundtrack as well. I used to like Jet Moto 2 quite a bit. Jet Moto 3 was the 989 one that you're supposed to avoid as well. They kind of like followed the same trajectory. Let me see here, and then I did want to go over there's of course the Crash Bandicoot series and the Spyro series. Those were like the platformers for the era. There's no diminishing what like the system wouldn't be where it is without the original Crash Bandicoot. The brand wouldn't be where it was without the original Crash Bandicoot, which was made by Naughty Dog way before they ever made an Uncharted game. And because like they didn't have their own Mario, they didn't have their own, and Sony didn't even technically own the character at the time, but they still used Crash in all their like commercials with like the guy with the megaphone in the Crash suit.
Yep.
But I bet Sony wishes they could have bought Crash before it got bought by, I think Universal owns Crash now. But I don't know actually who owns it, but certainly emblematic. Like that was the way that new platformers could be, with this kind of run towards the screen and run away from the screen.
I can't believe Crash Bandicoot ripped off of Pepsi Man.
Pepsi Man, of course, came later.
Oh.
But what else was there?
Going back to Spyro, I do want to mention, I never played the games. They look interesting, the big collectathons and these big 3D expanse, like Banjo-Kazooie or something, except you can fly to a degree. Very clever game. It's the start of a gigantic series of Spyro games. But one thing I want to point out that I learned in a Did You Know Gaming video is Spyro 3 in particular. Apparently, it pioneered the concept of helping games. I forgot what it was, like a bigger draw distance or not worry so much about loading times or something.
I believe that, yeah.
But like, yeah,
you
like
can see stuff off in the distance pretty well.
Yeah, Spyro 3 had a thing where if you saw like a person or an enemy or whatever way off in the distance, it would be like a very low texture, low poly version of it, and when you got closer, the better version would load in, so it would give you the illusion of seeing something from very far away. And like that's commonplace now, but Spyro 3 apparently pioneered that. I've seen that in the Souls game several times. Like if I sneak up on an enemy, all of a sudden, like the game didn't expect me to get there so fast, and like the good textures will pop in. So Spyro 3 did that on the PS1.
Yeah, that series was great.
Very clever programming.
A lot of people really love the Spyro games too. I think this is a good place to stop because we got to do fan stuff, and I would like.
Well, that is true, but like, how many more PS1 games did you have to talk about?
Well, I did want to do a cult episode, hit episode, because I want to get to talk about like some of the funky stuff that we like to go back to, that we play in groups and be like, oh man, look at this shit. I do want to have an episode where we go over cult items because I have quite a few on our list that I haven't touched on, and two of them are two of my favorite games for the system. So, but I can't start talking about them now, or else we'll never get done.
Very well.
I think we should move on to fan stuff.
Why, sure. So we have a few comments from Living Corpse. The first of which is, I just learned ray tracing can be used for sound. I feel stupid for not thinking of that before. Sound and light are different, but similar in how they interact with things. Yeah, like the closest I could think of is like the 3D microphone for Corpse Party, where it really sounds like it's behind you or to the side or whatever. And then another thing. Funny how zombification can cause dogs to move faster, but humans to move slower in Resident Evil.
Yeah, man.
Also, Leon and Claire are together in the first animated film. I must have just forgotten this then. I guess I flaked. I don't know. I know the animated movies are ridiculous, but with the exception of the first two live-action movies, I'll take them over to live-action movies. Also, what in the hell in Vendetta when Leon kills civilians in cars when he kills the zombie dogs? That clip is hysterical. It's so stupid.
It's so funny.
And then one more from Living Corpse. I guess Metroid wouldn't be too bad of a game world to live in. Well, it depends on what planet you're on. Sure, you don't want to live on the planet that Samus is actually on. Sure, there's war with space pirates, but we have wars going on now. At least here I get to travel to stars, have a cool power suit, and the Galactic Federation seems to keep the pirates from outright taking over right away. And Samus is causing the organization to get weaker with every blow she delivers to them. Galactic Federation is a shield, Samus is a surgical scalpel. Plus, most incidents are isolated. Well, again, it depends what you mean by isolated. Like, it's a planetary problem on every planet you land on in Metroid.
Yeah.
So just don't live there. And then School Filmer.
It's also infested with a species of alien that like literally wants to sap your entire life essence away.
Well, Metroid 1 and 2, I guess.
Yeah.
So School Filmer has a couple comments. Pretty unfortunate that the 3DS is on the way out, but at least I have my trusty new 3DS XL, which I pull out once in a while. Technology marches on a bit too fast for me, sadly. Yeah, I know that feel.
Yeah, I hear you.
And then again, I do remember a game called Wild 9 on the PS1.
Yeah, that was a game made by Shiny, the makers of Earthworm Jim.
Oh, nice. Tough game, but quite a good platformer. As for the question, like what world would you want to live on? I would have liked to live in Stardew Valley's world. Quite peaceful and quite a few things to do. Mind you, the years would pass by much quicker, given how long the days and the seasons are. Yeah, touche. And then Dracologist has a question for us. Was there any media, like games, movies, novels, whatever, where a story made a redeeming arc for a character you felt it did not deserve and made it grown-worthy? I think probably everybody collectively felt this for Kylo Ren.
That was my example.
Yeah, that was the moment Dracologist sent me the question. I was like, I got one. That was some bullshit. Oh, he felt kind of bad because the Emperor's a jerk. Well, yeah, what about your multi-planet genocide there, buddy. What
yeah,
about your
didn't he
like
explode
mind
5
torture
planets
techniques?
in the first new one
Yeah,
as
I
it
mean, to
is?
be fair, he didn't do that personally, but he was on the
I mean,
team.
he was
Like, what
part
do
of
you?
it. Come
And
on.
he worked for Snoke. Like you can't just, oh, he kissed Rey. That means he's good now. Fuck you.
Yeah, seriously.
That was
Um,
my immediate answer. I have to genuinely work to think of other answers.
no, that was the one I was. I looked at that question and I was like, what can I think of? And that was the one that came to mind.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
my immediate, like, well, what have I seen very recently that pissed off everyone? Oh, I got one. But I'm trying to think of others. Like,
I mean, in Game of Thrones, you have the opposite problem. You have
oh, character
a beloved
assassination.
character that fell off a cliff.
Yeah, literally or figuratively, depending on who the character is.
Yeah.
Because there was definitely cliff action. I mean, I don't know how far I would take this because it was extenuating circumstances, but in Dragon Ball Super, when they're on the super duper destroy your universe tournament arc, where Goku just has Frieza on his team, it's like, what the fuck? I know you gotta reach out for anybody, but Frieza's fucking irredeemable.
Yeah, he's Space Hitler.
Yeah, like Frieza's hell was being tied to a tree in a beautiful field with little fairies floating around and being cute. Like that was Frieza's hell. Like he couldn't stand it. So let's team up with that guy.
Yeah, I'm really trying to think of like
Even Vegeta's a fucking stretch, although to be fair for him, his redeeming arc was like the entire series. Like they actually worked on him.
yeah, and he was. I'm trying to think of like characters that were really big pieces of shit that did a heel face turn and
Well, anything where the character's like cartoon villain evil, but like then the good guy kills them, but they're in their dying breath. They're like, you know what? I see that what I did was wrong. It's like you don't get to just do that.
no.
Or if they try to make you understand, oh, but like my parents were killed in war and that turned me into a genocidal maniac. It's like everybody's parents were killed in war. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it because like I have
Like I'm looking at Luca Blight right now in Suikoden 2. I don't know if he's going to do a face turn, and I kind of hope he doesn't. But like his past, he briefly alluded to his past in a scene I recently saw, and it sucks. His family got some shit, but he wants to like literally kill everyone. And it's like, okay, buddy.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't really think of like oh like what happened here.
Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, okay. I mean, actually, do you ever watch Pro ZD on YouTube?
No, I don't know what that is.
That guy's fucking hilarious. Like his thing is basically Vine videos, except they're not Vine.
Oh, him. He's a Korean guy.
Yeah. Like, he does a lot
he's
of like
awesome.
quick
Yeah.
microcosms of like stupid tropes or
No,
like
he's
stupid
really
thing.
funny. He's
Well,
really
one
funny.
of them was like the villain face turn, where it's like, "Hey guys, guess I'm teaming up with you now." Like what? But like you killed all my parents, and like you killed my parents and all my family, and you like told me I was a loser. He's like, "Yeah, well, I was a little over the top back then," and like, and, you know, all the friends are like, "Great, we're happy to have you on our team." And the main character's like, you know, it feels so off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna think of something like way later. It's just like
I know.
oh, there
I'm
we
trying to
go.
think of media I've consumed that pulls some bullshit, but yeah, Rise of Skywalker is very low hanging fruit.
I mean that's
e-
the most recent. Like
Yeah, that's like the really obvious one.
yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of like comically terrible characters that turn around or at least have a redemption just before death,
Well,
which you don't
there are
feel
plenty
is
of good ones. I mean, like Spike in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer is like a good heel face turn. I really like that.
Well, like I'm trying to think of like a bad one though, because like that's
Yeah.
kind of hard to do, which is actually a good thing.
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
want this shoehorn bullshit. But like Kylo Ren is just so in your face right
I mean,
now. 'Cause I've just
you have
been thinking-
Venom, but that's a good one.
Well,
you know.
Venom is still an anti-hero. Like
Well,
he's like,
he hates Spider-Man. Is the thing.
yeah, he's like, well, I won't kill
He's
you.
not evil. He just hates Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he doesn't go for innocence either. He just is like a grudging, like, well, I gotta admit, Carnage is worse. I guess I'm on your team.
Yeah, yeah. Carnage is a straight up villain, but
Yeah,
yeah.
like I don't mind it when they do the enemy of the enemy thing, where it's like, I guess I'll hang out with you for a little bit. I know this is weird, but like, we need to do this right now. But like a straight up face turn though,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
genu. I'm really having trouble with this one. I don't know, man.
yeah, most of them are good.
Yeah, which is fortunate, but that is the most obvious one.
yeah. No, I'm gonna stick with that one until like maybe we could revisit this if I can think of it, but
Yeah, perhaps, but yeah, like I
also you
genuinely,
tend to like block out all the bad crap that you like
yeah, to the best of your ability.
later like entries in series where you're just like, really, they did that? Like I forgot all about it. Like like some of the lesser like Halloween sequels or something. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
did they really do that? That kind of thing. But I can't think of.
This doesn't quite count because it was more of a grudging alliance, but they made it feel a little too like I'm with the good guys now. Was the Predator and that one
Oh,
woman in Alien versus Predator.
sure.
Like they did both have to deal with the alien, so that's why they teamed up. But it did feel a little bit too much like a buddy cop kind of situation, even though there's no dialogue between them
Alien
because it's
versus
a predator.
Predator is terrible. Ugh.
I actually like the movie all right, even though it's got some stupid parts in it. Alien versus
Like
Predator
the wrestling
Requiem, that
moves is where it
sucks.
lost me.
What was it?
The wrestling moves, like where you basically do a pile driver on an alien.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, AVP Requiem though, that movie fucking sucks.
I I like Predators. The third one.
Predators was quite good.
Yeah, the third. I actually like the first three Predator movies. I didn't see the most recent one, the fourth one.
I didn't either, but I heard it was not very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Predator 2, I like that was my big fear. This time there's no Arnold and it's in modern day. It's in town. Really? But that movie's solid.
No,
It was quite good.
In fact, I think it aged better than it. Like when it originally came out, people didn't like it as much. But I think like in retrospect, a lot of people like it now.
Yeah, thank you for not doing another identical movie where they're
No,
wandering through a jungle.
different concept. Yeah, it was the concrete jungle instead.
No, that's on the PS2. Hey, got him.
All right. Well, we'll move on from this one then.
Yeah, this is probably about as good as I can do. I
Yeah,
apologize.
no,
We both had the same idea.
that was it. I think that's our that's what
And
we're
not
gonna
even
leave with.
not even necessarily face turns, but even when they try to shoehorn in like, well, you gotta feel bad for him, but like he's done too much evil for you to really deserve that sense of feeling. Like Kaio in Hokuto no Ken 2, like, oh, my parents were killed, and it's like, and you became so evil that evil essence literally drips out of your mouth and it's visible. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah. Well, I
Or
think
or
we should-
actually no, you know what? I can come close.
Okay.
This is not gonna do it, but it's gonna come close. Thouser in Hokuto no Ken. Do you know who he is?
he's one of the brothers, but
No, he's not. He's on the Nanto Seiken.
Oh, okay.
Because the brothers are Kenshiro, Jagi, Toki, and Rao. But Thouser is like the Rao equivalent of Nanto.
Okay.
Like he is the one guy in the entire series where Rao was like, I'm not 100% sure I beat him in a fight. So like Thouser's scary, but he is next level. Like he's 80s villain evil, like
It's just a
where
piece of shit.
dude, number one, he has an entire collection of just like slave children, and he has them building like a literal pyramid.
Pyramid, yeah.
Like, and he has one of the good guys from Nanto, like the blind guy. He like, I forgot if he beat him in a fight to get him to do this or what, or he had him hostage or something, or he had some kids hostage. But he made the guy lift the top of the pyramid, the final stone, and like walk it all the way the fuck up the pyramid by himself. So it's excruciatingly heavy because it's a fucking pyramid block. And then when he was standing on the top of the pyramid, he did that move that you might remember from the PS2 fighting game, where he just throws a spear at him like hits him, so the guy dies right there and is crushed by the weight of the block, which perfectly completes the pyramid. It's like, dude, come on. And then when Kenshiro finally beats him, like, you see he was depressed over the death of his master, and he felt alone and everything. But it's like, dude, you have slave children building a fucking pyramid, and you pulled this shit. Like, sorry, like, I don't think they expected you to fully forgive him or anything, but it's like, dude, way past that. He's such an open asshole. Like, when Kenshiro first fights him, he just stands with his hands kind of like stretched out at his sides, and Kenshiro's like, you gonna take a stance, buddy, in this fight to the death against a Hokuto practitioner? And Bowser's like, the Emperor Star does not need a stance. Like, if you played God Hand, this is a really obscure thing to bring up, but do you remember Elvis from God Hand? The big fat guy who smokes a cigar?
Yeah, I do.
He calls it cabron. When you fight him, do you remember him, like, sliding at you without, like, moving his body? He just kind of went toward you. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was like he slid toward you rather than, like, ran.
Yeah.
That was directly from Thouser. It's like, I don't need to take a stance. And because of, like, old animation, you just awkwardly slid at him where you're like, oh, fuck, how does he do that? Bowser's a very, very proud piece of shit. And again, the one guy that Ro was like, I probably could beat him. It's like that. He's good. So, yeah, I'm not going to go full-on Thouser's a correct answer for this question, but he's as close as I can think of right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that was pretty good. It was a pretty good exploration of this week, because this was a tough topic.
This is actually pretty hard,
yeah.
I should mention, by the way, thank you very much for the question. Also, we have one more question, so if anybody wants to volunteer more to give us some material to work with, that would be very much appreciated as well. But thank you very much, Dracologist, and we will get to the other question next time.
Sounds great. Well, that's the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions and comments. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Twitter or on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everyone. We'll catch everybody on Tuesday once again.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.